The 10th National Assembly, or 10th House of Representatives, in its first plenary today, passed 3 motions on palliatives for Nigerians as a result of the hike in petrol prices, flooding and the dangerous gully erosion posed to the southeastern part of Nigeria. Tunji Olanipekun has a compiled story on that.
It is the last time that the former Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila will be attending plenary as a member of the 10th House of Representatives, having been appointed as the Chief of Staff to the President. He is making his last sitting count by moving a motion of the dangers flooding pose to Nigerians and the need to address it headlong. The Green Chambers resolves to invite the Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to brief lawmakers on the measures put in place to mitigate flood disasters and how to manage its social-economic impact on Nigerians.
I had the privilege of meeting with the DG NEMA just about a week ago, and he painfully intimated me of the impending devastation from floods that may ravage this country if we do not take immediate action to either mitigate or stop the consequences. It is upon that I bring this motion on the need for the federal government of Nigeria and the state governments to commence active measures to mitigate the probable devastation of a severe flood season.
Related to the flood is another motion moved by a member representing Enugu South, Chimaobi Sam Atu, on the ravaging effect of gully erosion in 9th Mile area of Enugu State, which is said is threatening to cut off the southeast from the north part of the country. The House urges the Federal Ministry of Works and the Federal Roads Maintenance Agency to complete the reconstruction work on the road to prevent its total collapse.
Knowing that Ugbo 9th Mile Road has remained a death trap, resulting to loss of life, goods and services worth millions of naira on a daily basis as a result of frequent accidents on the bad portion of the road.
The third motion considered by the House of Representatives is the need for the federal government to, as a matter of urgency, implement measures to mitigate the effect of the fuel subsidy removal on Nigerians. The House is worried that the fuel price increase has left millions of Nigerians terrified, causing untold hardship with a sudden rise in the price of foodstuffs and other services.
To ask the federal government to, as a matter of urgency, implement palliative measures to mitigate the effect of fuel subsidy removal on Nigerians.
The House urges the federal government to hasten the process of cushioning the effect of the subsidy removal so that more Nigerians will not be pushed into poverty.
Well, for more on this, I'm joined in the studio by Terseer Ugbo, who is a member of the House of Representatives representing Kwande Oshongo Federal Constituency. Good to see you and thanks for your time. And we also have a breaking story pretty much later. We'll be giving you that. But quickly, that's a very fine way to start. Speaking of which, talking about the people. And the erosion problem in Nigeria Southeast was also top on the agenda. But again, first, let's start off by talking about the outcome of the day, how it panned out, and how excited some of you first-time members are.
Well, thank you for having me. Well, we're happy to hit the ground running. The 10th Assembly has shown that we're going to be people-oriented. We're going to be people-focused. We're going to look at issues that affect the people directly and the welfare of Nigerians. And so on the first full day of plenary, we, like you mentioned, we handled 3 motions on subsidy, palliatives for subsidy removal, for flood, the impending flood disaster that has become an annual problem in Nigeria, and of course the issue of erosions in the southeast. And so yeah, we've hit the ground running. We hope that tomorrow we'll sit again, we'll look at a few issues, and then we'll begin to organize ourselves into in ways that we can have a better 10th Assembly.
And again, the key thing here has to do with the people and with the 10th Assembly, specifically the House of Representatives. We saw that what you people highlighted on the day wasn't about you all, wasn't about your welfare. It was just about the people, even though allocation of officers haven't actually taken place. Speak to us on how the agenda and how these issues came about today, to the extent that they're already on the agenda of the Green Chamber.
Yeah, I think the current leadership, led by the Speaker, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, and his deputy, Benjamin Kalu, had a preconceived idea to hit the ground running with people-oriented issues. And so there were several proposals for motions today, but I think we decided to look at those that affect Nigerians the most and those that are of pressing national importance. A few other things were raised on the floor today, but we decided to focus on those that have a direct bearing and of national urgency. And that is why these three motions particularly were brought to the floor. And most significantly, the outgoing Speaker, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, on his last day on the floor of the House, as a member of the House of Representatives, decided to move a motion of urgent national importance on the issue of flooding in Nigeria. This has become a national problem. I'm from Benue State, and we have the same problem in Benue State, where every year we have this flooding issue. People have to move up from their homes and move back into the flood, and a lot of times they get displaced completely. It has become a big problem. I have family members who are affected by this flood. And so I was really impressed. I was really happy about this because it directly affects me, affects my state. And I'm happy that the leadership of the House had the foresight and the initiative to handle issues of national importance that most affect Nigerians.
Before we go to talk more about the petrol subsidy removal, which was also on the plate on the day, I'd like to stay on the issue of flooding, which honestly, what we saw last year, Benue was top on the list. That's your state. Off the top of your head, what do you think could be the solution?
Well, flooding is caused by several factors.
Yeah.
Of course, the excess rainfall that has been happening in the last few years as a result of climate change. As you know, climate change has created a situation where we have an imbalance in our ecosystem right now. Mm. And so we have excess rainfall, much more than what we had previously in previous years. So areas of the states that are low-lying by the riverside, the bank to River Benue, where people used to live, the Benue State University is right on the river bank, there's a golf course, a very lovely scenery. But of late, in the last couple of years, with heavy rainfalls, the banks of the river overflow their banks and flood the entire axis, around the Benue River. And then there's the issue of the dam in the Cameroon, the problem with Cameroon and the dam. So we've had this problem with Cameroon opening up their dam and releasing excess water that flows down the River Benue, down the River Niger, and floods all the communities by the river banks. And we're hoping that the federal government has looked at these issues, has had some discussions with the Cameroonian government to see how we can best manage this situation of water being released on an annual basis from this dam.
And the talk of subsidy removal is there. And I just had a conversation with Saliu Mustafa, and he also spoke about palliatives. Is that the same you looked at in the House of Representatives?
Yeah, palliatives as we know it in Nigeria, where we're used to the word palliative, usually it means some handouts, some cash handouts to citizens, some food handouts to citizens. But for me personally, I want to look at palliatives beyond just monetary handouts. I want to look at palliatives where we can look at the income of homes, look at the income of families, and see how we can support families in a way that reduces the burden on the family income, so that we can create more disposable income for the average family.
Aren't you also disturbed about the non-availability of adequate, information? I'm talking about data to recognizing these families who need such a kind of assistance.
Yeah, well, if you do a simple analysis of the income of a family and what are the major income expenses, in every average family. Housing, school fees for children, of course food, transportation, clothing and all that, medical care. Now the healthcare insurance was supposed to be a way to help families reduce the burden of healthcare. From paying out-of-pocket healthcare and paying huge amounts of money. So if the health insurance system was working, then it reduces the burden of families having to pay so much on healthcare. If the school loans program was working, and we're happy that President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has recently signed the school loans, law act into law. This is really important because what it means is that families can then students can benefit from these school loans, thereby reducing the burden of parents having to pay school fees upfront for the children. The ultimate idea of supporting families, reduce expenses on revenue and expenses on the family income is to free up enough disposable income. What increase of fuel subsidy does is that it eats into family incomes. It eats into individual incomes. So if you're spending a certain amount on food, a certain amount on transportation, now you have to spend much more. And so it wipes away your disposable income, it wipes away your income possible on food and other aspects of maybe clothing and other things that you may have spent money on. And then of course issues of holidays and things like that. Recreation is completely wiped up. You need to take care of the immediate problem, the urgent problem before.
The problem there again has to do with leakages. Now, if you're talking about this, keep in mind Nigeria has the humanitarian disaster, affairs ministry, which some people have also, pointed fingers at, saying that some of these things don't actually get to those who are the real people, and the real people are the people you represent. So perhaps we should start talking about how we can ensure that those who need these assistance are actually the ones who receive them.
Well, we're trying to improve our data management system in the country. We need to improve our data management system. We need to know who is who and who is where and what are the needs and challenges of our people. Once we can improve our data management system, merge all the data points, the driver's license, the NIN and things like that. I know right now, to get an international passport, you need to present your NIN, to get a driver's license.
Almost everything.
Almost everything now, so that is a good step in the right direction. I think with time, we'll begin to build more people into these databases. We'll begin to do better analysis of our people so we can know where we have challenges and who are the best people, to best benefit from these palliatives and how can it trickle down the ladder from the middle class down to the poor. The whole idea of the entire thing about governance is to move people from poverty to the middle income class.
Just give me a moment, I'll come back to you. Earlier I spoke to you and I said that we have a breaking story, and the Office of the Secretary of the Government of the Federation has just released a statement suspending that President Bola Tinubu has suspended the chairman of the EFCC, Mr. Bawa. And the letter reads that the president has approved the indefinite suspension from office of Mr. Abdurrashid Bawa as the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to allow for proper investigation into his conduct while in office. This follows weighty allegations of abuse of office leveled against Mr. Bawa. Mr. Bawa has been directed to immediately hand over the affairs of his office to the Director of Operations in the Commission, who will oversee the affairs of the office of the Chairman of the Commission pending the conclusion of the investigation. So if you just joined us, you can actually catch up more on this on our website, arise.tv. The chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Abdurrashid Bawa, has been suspended indefinitely by the President, Bola Tinubu. So let's close on this. The man, the president, who's done less than 4 weeks in office and quite a number of things he's touched on. How does that make you feel?
Well, it just makes me know that we have strong leadership in Nigeria. We have focused leadership in Nigeria right now, and it played out in the National Assembly, in the 10th Assembly. We have the widest margin of any speaker, ever produced in the House of the floor. 353 members, voted for one person. This is a huge task for him, because previously, speakership contests usually have, strong contest. One person gets 100 and something, another person 100 and something. So, but when everybody has voted for you, then you have a huge challenge managing a lot of interest. But this was possible because we have strong leadership, we have united leadership in Nigeria, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has proven once again that he's a man that's ready to take tough decisions. He has the political will and he means well for Nigeria. He proved it as governor of Lagos State, and he has started proving it again as president of Nigeria. And already I can see that even his naysayers, his political opponents are already beginning to praise him for how he started. We all agree that he started well, and we in the National Assembly were there to support him. We're not talking about being rubber stamp. I know that the whole idea of rubber stamp is because...
I was going to ask that, because that's the fear and the worry of many Nigerians.
Yeah, you know, Nigerians have the fear of this rubber stamp issue because the 9th Assembly approved almost all the loans that President Buhari requested for. You know, I mean, the 10th Assembly is going to approve loans for the president too. You know, so we're going to have to approve these loans because that's just the only way to go. I'm not worried about loans. I'm worried about how these loans are paid back. If Nigeria could borrow $1 trillion, I'll support it because we need the money to build our countries. All the industrialized countries in the world owe a lot of money, huge amount of money. The entire African continent owes less than $500 billion. One European country with less than 20 billion people owes $500 billion. So if a whole continent of Africa with a population of 1.2 billion people owes the entire world, you know, its debt with less than 500 million.
But again, you would agree that that's not the issue with Nigerians. That's not the issue with your constituents. If I come to you, let's make it more mundane, and I said to you, I need to buy a pair of shoes, and the money is given, and you still see me in my Crocs and no shoes 2 months, 3 months. So that's the issue. Diversion, leakages, and that's the problem. So if it's about development and Nigerians, they see these developments, I don't think they will bat an eyelid.
Well, I think we need to look at the bigger picture. You know, if we blocked all the leakages in Nigeria, we blocked every single leakage in Nigeria, how big is the national cake? Our budget is $30 to $40 billion. So if we block every single leakage, our budget is still far, far, far too small. So for me as a person, as a public policy analyst, I believe that our budget needs to be much, much bigger. So we need to explore ways to expand our budget. Yeah, we need to close the loopholes, we need to close the leakages and all that, but we need to do much more. We need to reevaluate our you know, how we trade with the international community. We need to look at our natural resources, our human resources. We need to value them properly in the context of Africa, of course, you know, and see how Africa can create a new system that helps us negotiate with the international community on better terms, help us raise more money on better terms, help us borrow more on better terms, and help us get more support. I mean, the international community ripped Africa off through slave trade. So they got free labor, free natural resources, and they're still exploiting Africa till today, you know. But for Africa, we have not been able to explore the international community, so we need to depend on our own resources, you know. But in depending on our resources, we need to reach out, we need to build bridges with the international community, we need to get more support from them. And that's why a country like Greece, for example, owes over $500 billion. Greece is small country, but the entire Africa cannot raise even a fraction of that. So it means our economies are not properly structured to raise enough money. And the term of these loans need to also be looked at. But so the issue is not being afraid of loans, it's the issue of raising enough money to build our economy and build our country.
And that's a fine place. Terseer, Representative Terseer Ugbo, many thanks for speaking with us here on the Rise Prime Time.
Thank you for having me.